line does. I don't know about you guys, but I find this commute a lot harder than going to school, even though I'm only a few feet away from this office when I wake up. It's harder to get ready in time, it seems. All right, where was I? Sorry guys, I'm only going to share one screen with you. All right, here we go. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a new file over here. I'm going to call it CityState.java. And we need the .java so the computer knows what sort of file it is. I'm going to hit return. And that creates a new program. And you guys are welcome to code this one and turn it in as CityState, and then use what we start today to do our MadLib exercise. So this will give you a good foundation for that. So the first line is going to be our import statement. That's going to bring our scanner technology in, and the scanner is what allows us to get user input and output. You're welcome to create shorter comments on your programs. So once again, it's just Java. There's no X, and that's util. That's an abbreviation for utility. So make sure you don't put until down there. And then we need the name of our program. And notice a traditional naming practice when you have two words compounded together is to put the second word, make that capital. You don't have to do that for me, but if you go into professional programming, that'll become a thing. And of course, you can always copy this in from another program, our main method. I'm going to add some comments to these lines. All right, I'll give you guys a second to work on that. And while you're coding that, I'll create our first object. And our first object is going to be based on that scanner technology that we brought in. And an object is simply a thing we can use. So like a variable, instead of like an int or a string, here I'm going to create a scanner, and I can give it a name such as input or anything. And I'm going to give it that name simply because that's what it's used for, is getting input from the user. You could call it I if you don't feel like typing out the whole word. And the second half of the of this line actually creates space in the computer's memory for a new scanner object. That's not something you would need to know. The thing you can focus on now is just knowing this creates a new object. So the line above. And an object is like a variable, but something we can just a little more powerful in this case, because it has lots of activities or methods that it can use. And the object's type as to what is it. What is input? And that's a scanner, which is just something we can use to get input and output. Now when the user is prompted over here in the console for input, it's just this little white box on the terminal. So there isn't anything saying, hey, type this in or type that in. So we'll have to add that. So that's just a simple print statement. So up here I'm going to create another variable, or a variable, string city equals quote quote. And then we can get the city, or whatever the user types, we can save that in the city variable. And this is going to save what the user types. Into the variable named city. And then I can take whatever the user puts in there and display it. Okay, let me see if I can compile this. Java C, CityState.java. And I have an error. And as it says, line 12, cannot find symbol. And it looks like it might be read line. So I would have to confirm that I have the correct method right here. Take a second, get caught up typing.
Mr. H,
Yeah.
I think that's supposed to be next line, not read line.
Next line? Oh. Thank you, sir. Good call. Then to run it, it would be Java city-state, and whatever we typed in here would be displayed. Now when we have to expand upon this so that we can get two inputs, there are some things we can need more than once and other things we don't need more than once. For instance, our scanner, this object, we only need one of those. We can use it multiple times to get multiple inputs. But say we wanted to get the state as well, we'd want a separate variable to save that information. So I could just copy and paste that right here. So when programs get longer, step one would be to create our variables and objects. We would do that kind of up top. So once we create it, the rest of the program can use it. And we never have to refer to a variable like string city, or city or state as strings. And we don't have to refer to input as a scanner. We can just directly reference everything right here. So step one would be to create all those things. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Step two would be to get user input. So since I have these three lines all together, and I'm going to just almost ask the same question. I'm just going to copy and paste those. Remember, be efficient with your work. I'm going to get rid of some of these comments just to save room. So a common error right here would not be to change this to state. And all that would do is it wouldn't generate any programming errors. What it would do is just overwrite the city variable. So these three lines get the city. These three lines get the state. Oh, and then yet another error would be not to get the correct output. Now that's a little redundant. We could do this in one line. And this will be the last line of this program before I show you an if statement. I could ultimately do system.out.println. And if I wanted to put a comma between the two, I could put a comma in between some quotes and a blank space, then add a semicolon. What a MadLib looks like. Oops. So a MadLib, if you don't remember this from when you were a kid, here's an example. We don't have to make one anywhere as long as this. But what you do is they ask you the user for a bunch of parts of speech. And then you fill it into a story and hilarity ensues. But we're only going to do like just 5 things, so we'd only need to do the first part of something like this. You're welcome to just copy the story from something like this or make up your own. Remember, it doesn't have to be fully in depth. So let me see if I can get one. Quite often these are blocked at school because they're considered games. So if I were to put in a noun, I would say, let me say dog. So I would plug that in here, and then it makes for a funny story at the very end. Now these are only showing one sentence, but we would kind of put it all together as one. Now looking at the assignment, we're going to use the scanner. We're going to ask a series of questions so we can get a name, noun, place, verb, adjective, and verb, and then put them all together. So the way I might go about starting this is to get all of the items I need to capture up here. And I'm making these blank just because I'm going to get that information from the user in a little bit. And if you have an assignment for a foreign language class, I encourage you to do this for your, for that class. You might be able to turn in an assignment. Two birds with one stone. So what else do I need? Maybe a place. Location. And I'm putting spaces around my equal signs here for you guys to make it nice and pretty. You don't have to do that. If I had extra things like you could use city or state for location, remember we only need one input. So I'm really starting to modify this program now, so it's not going to look like CityState anymore. It's really going to be expanded, but I can copy a bunch of this. You might see where I'm going with it. Now, a common mistake here would be to leave name there and overwrite name. So if you ever get input displaying twice, that wouldn't be a programming error. That would just be a naming error. So in terms of naming, I can name our variables generally anything I want, unless it's like a reserved Java keyword. And I'm just capturing all these things right here. Freshmen, no cuss words when you're testing them out ever on screen, please. Other than that, you can make your buddies can be the hero of your stories, whatever you decide to make it. So finally, step 3 will be to display user output, or just to display that program's output. And then so I could combine all my output down below. Make a little story of sorts. I'm hoping tonight's game should be good. Awesome quarterback matchup. If your verb tense is ever off or something like that, don't ever worry about that for my classes. That's something I would work around. This is just for fun and programming reinforcement. So for this program, our last step is this third step, displaying the output. So what you would want to do is keep coding this program to get other outputs. I think we had 2 verbs. So if we needed a second verb, I would call this like verb 2. Otherwise, it's going to rewrite what we enter. If your program is really long, you might need to copy and submit your code rather than submitting a picture. I'll see if I can enable that in the scanner, excuse me, in the MadLib program. And that's all we have for today. I encourage you to get your MadLib done. Even though it's not due till next week per Mr. Trico's instructions, October 5th or 6th, a lot of what we do once again is in class. So your homework's what we don't do in class. Next Thursday we're going to do similar stuff, but with numerical input. I'll show you how to use numbers. We can do some simple math with it based on the user input, and we can do an if statement with a number in advance of next week when we start if statements in general. If you ever need to clear the right-hand side, you can type in clear. And then I'll be sharing this video. Since I'm recording class, I'm going to have this, what we covered today, available, this video, should you ever need to reference it. And once again, when we do an assessment in the future, you can even, you're welcome to look at all these videos and stuff. I mean, if we're home and we're doing a test and we're doing online school, obviously I can't be there to look at, see what you're looking at, so that's why I make everything available.
How would we run it when we finish?
Let me show you. And this will become second nature to you guys after you do it a bunch. So we have to compile it every time we save it or make any changes with Java C. I didn't create a new one, so I'm reusing this name. You're always welcome, like if you ever had an emergency, you can just copy code and paste it to like OneDrive. or excuse me, Notability or something like that, if you just want to have your code somewhere else. But I need to type javac and the name of the program .java to check for errors and everything. That saves it. And then once I fix my errors, I would type Java and then CityState. And mine's not working because I'm referencing the if statement. And I don't have a city variable anymore. I'm going to get rid of these. So that will recompile. It should fix any errors, or now that I have my errors removed, I shouldn't get any. Now to run the program, just the Java command and the name of the file. I'm just going to clean this up to get everything on one line. You can always email me code, submit it through the gradebook, and if it's got an error, I can give you feedback there. That takes a lot longer. The disadvantage of obviously being home is when we're in school, I can just glance at your, I usually spend the class going around glancing at your screens, fixing errors, and then just going to the next person. So it's a lot faster. But that's okay, that's built into this. And once again, if you're all caught up, get a chance, check out SciGen. That is that scientific paper generator from MIT. It's just all fake nonsense. It's pretty funny. Once again, they got a picture or a couple of articles that the computer made pre-approved for publication in some scientific journals.
Hey, Mr. Hardenry.
Mm-hmm.
For the basic math, like update assignment that's due today, is it fine if we just like start a new Replit and create a scanner program where the user inputs numbers and it performs a task? Or should we alter the program that we've already created?
You can alter it, but that one's not... Oh, wait. Did I put the wrong due date down? Whoops. Let me change that to next week.
Oh, okay. So then we should do the MadLibs one today.
Yeah, my bad.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, I think that was based on the original basic math was due. I'll show you that next class. Yeah, my apologies.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
I will fix that as soon as class ends. Actually, I'll fix that now. Thanks for calling me out on that.